Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis. Recently, Chapter 9 was released, The Truth Revealed, where Aerith meets her untimely fate by Sephiroth once again. Fans did not really express issue with how it was portrayed, but with one of the titles that you can get by completing this chapter, Water Burial. And yes, this is what happens after the tragic sequence. Cloud has a speech, the party fights Genova, and then Cloud lays her to rest at the Forgotten Capital Lake, where her body does eventually sink because human bodies are denser than water. So they will sink to the bottom of a body of water. In Japanese, this type of burial ceremony is referred to as a suiso, and it was referenced as such in the Final Fantasy VII Ultimania Omega. So this is a descriptor and a way of phrasing that was already used years ago. In spite of that, still many fans were not happy for this title being used to describe the chapter. So Square Enix did respond to the concern from the fans and issued this statement. Thank you for playing Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis. This is a message from the management team. After receiving a great deal of feedback regarding the Final Fantasy VII Chapter 9 player title, Water Burial, the team began immediate deliberations. Before explaining how we came to settle on this title, we would like to say we deeply regret the fact that our choice upset so many of you, and we are deeply sorry for settling on such an inappropriate choice. When it comes to the player titles that are awarded for clearing main story chapters, we try to account for factors such as the story, location, and iconic moments. For Chapter 7, we selected planetologies because of the revelation at Cosmo Canyon. For Chapter 8, we selected Spy because of the events surrounding Cait Sith. As for Chapter 9, we wanted something that expressed the iconic parting with Aerith. Just like how Aerith's life force returned to the livestream, her thoughts and feelings became one with the waters of the Forgotten Capital. This scene, where her companions take a new step forward with renewed determination, even as they try to come to grips with her loss, is what we believe to be one of the story's most defining moments. That is why we wanted to use this iconic moment as the player title for this chapter and selected Water Burial. However, we failed to fully consider the many ways in which fans of the series felt about this moment, and our short-sightedness caused fan anger, sadness, and disappointment. Final Fantasy VII isn't meant to be associated with such negative emotions, it's meant to be enjoyed, but we failed as its caretakers. We deeply regret implementing something that is counter to what Final Fantasy VII should be about. Words cannot express how deeply sorry we are. That said, we would like to make it clear that the title we chose was not the result of us taking Aerith's death lightly. However, that does not change the fact that we were short-sighted in how we chose to handle such an iconic moment. We are truly sorry. As of July 18th, we will be updating the game and removing Water Burial as a title. It will be replaced with Prayer Altar, one of the chapter's iconic locations. The team has taken this incident to heart. Going forward, we will ensure that we are respectful. Wow, so I have many mixed emotions on this one, and I do want to start off by saying that, of course, I'm not Japanese, I'm a foreigner, so I'm not claiming to ever speak for them, and I would never want to speak over them. I would never say to not feel the way that you do about that. So this is just me coming at it from my own fan perspective and just my Western fan point of view. So first off, in no uncertain terms do they confirm her death once again, right? They call her death an iconic parting because it is. Her death scene, for better or worse, is one of the most well-known scenes out of the entire game in Final Fantasy VII. It's hard to escape it. So if you've made it this far without knowing that she dies, hats off to you. You're really good at keeping spoiler free. Her life force returns to the live stream. Her thoughts and feelings become one with the waters of the Forgotten Capital. So it's a place where her people resided. That is quite a fitting resting place for her. And at the same time, they confirm that, hey, she is part of the live stream now. So that's something I feel like is kind of a taboo topic when discussing the context of her death surrounding Rebirth, but I'll get to that in a bit. They speak of this water burial in such a respectful manner, and water burials, from what I understand, are not uncommon in Japan, scattering ashes and all that. And I personally think that's such a beautiful way of honoring someone's life. This moment is so important that it's referenced at the beginning of Advent Children. It was referenced in a full motion video sequence in the original game. This moment specifically right here. And now in Ever Crisis, the importance was highlighted until fans had mixed feelings about it. Now, to my understanding, from some things I've seen on social media, some fans were upset because the term has been used to mock her death or, I guess, poke at Aerith fans. With that, as a Westerner, someone who is not fluent in Japanese, right? Although I consistently study it on Duolingo, when you look into the term Suiso, there is another word with the same exact pronunciation, but with a different second kanji in the word. And literally it translates to water tank, aquarium, or fish tank. So, what I think is going on is that some fans like to refer to Aerith as fish food, in other words, something or other in Japanese. And to that I say, people are always going to have something to say about our favorite characters. And also, Square Enix clearly didn't mean it in that manner of speaking. The scene has been very well done in any sort of medium that it has been portrayed in. I don't think it was meant with malice. I really don't. Especially since, again, it was referred to in those terms in the Ultimania Omega, so it's not something that's new from Square Enix. As for Final Fantasy VII isn't meant to be associated with such negative emotions, I don't really agree with that, although I get what they're trying to say. You're supposed to enjoy the game and not have to think about negativity. But in a deeper sense, Final Fantasy VII themes such as the loss of life, that was something that the father of Final Fantasy, Sakaguchi, wanted to get across in Final Fantasy VII. In an old interview with PlayStation Underground, Sakaguchi says this to the interviewer: "Are there any new themes in Final Fantasy VII? When we were creating Final Fantasy III, my mother passed away, and ever since I have been thinking about the theme life. Life exists in many things, and I was curious about what would happen if I attempted to analyze life in a mathematical and logical way. Maybe this was my approach in overcoming the grief I was experiencing. This is the first time in the series that this particular theme actually appears in the game itself. See if you can spot it." Well, it's very apparent, and it permeates all throughout Final Fantasy VII. With that said, I do respect how much they consider the fan feedback. But there's another part of me that just thinks, well, obviously they didn't mean it in malice, and they never would, and that we should trust Square Enix more with how they handle their characters and story. But it is a gacha game after all, and gacha games do rely on its users using real-world money to purchase in-game items such as weapons or new character outfits. And so that is something cool that you can do in Ever Crisis, like get all these cool outfits for Cloud and the other characters. So in that way, it's kind of like a cool little fan service game with extra story. I do understand why Square Enix would want to keep that little fan ecosystem going. So while having a good relationship with long-standing fans is important, I think we should place less emphasis on the voices of fans in this situation, at least when it comes to input on the story and characters and things like that. Not that I'm saying that this changed the story or anything like that, but in general, when people say crazy things, there's a lot of people that like to diminish Tifa's importance, or they say that Tifa fans only like her for her chest, or that Cloud is emo, he's a badly written character, or that Cloud and Tifa fans, we only like Cloud and Tifa for Tifa, which not even true. You see my point. Like, people are going to have an opinion about every character. You might love a character and that person might not love the character. Water off a duck's back. If someone doesn't like Tifa or someone doesn't like Cloud, there's nothing I can really do to change their minds. And so they have the right to say whatever they want, even though it's factually incorrect. There's a lot of people in the fandom. Not everyone's going to agree. Something else to keep in mind too is that they are all just pixels. Well-written and amazing ones, yes, but still pixels. We love our pixels. I talk about pixels on this channel, but pixels are a mere reflection of life and not all this life has to offer. I also don't think that skirting around the topic of her death will set a very good precedent for the next game, and realistically, what we can expect within the context of Part 3. For example, during an interview with Frontline Japan, Nomura was interviewed about this topic and says he actually wanted to avoid focusing on Aerith so as to not give fans false hopes, and early promotional materials avoiding the topic was due to this. However, the media kept focusing on it and asking them about it, and so they eventually relented and used the catchphrase, "The world will be saved, but will you?" in reference to Aerith. So even though Nomura understood that many fans wished to save her, that's not what happens. He still gave them their respects. Unlike in the original Final Fantasy VII, Cloud manages to stop Sephiroth's blade, but in the end fails to stop him from killing Aerith. And the interviewer asks why this happened. Nomura says that this is because he felt that many players would want to defy that fate. And so he wanted to have Cloud be able to try to stop Sephiroth, just like, the players, they wanted to try to see if they could save her again. The aim of the scene in the original game was to show that you can lose someone precious to you suddenly, and that is why Cloud could do nothing to stop Sephiroth and did not have an opportunity to even speak with Aerith before her death. But people in the real world cannot process losing someone so quickly, and so the aim of the scene in Rebirth was to show someone being unable to cope with loss. And it doesn't change the fact that she is a very beloved character. Nothing is going to change that. In Advent Children, she was the one that cured the world of geostigma in a beautiful Deus Ex Machina, by the way, but still, it was her. Even if she is one with the live stream's flow, she's still an extremely powerful character. She is the heroine of the external plot, and in the conclusion, we're gonna see her save the world from Holy, and do it with such flair, such passion, such grace. It's gonna be a thrilling conclusion. I just know it. And maybe it'll be like the days of leading up to Advent Children. The marketing back then was, we talk about Aerith, but we don't show her face. Or they could do it where Aerith is interspersed throughout the story with Zack in tow in the live stream trying to figure things out. I think that'd be really cute. I'm looking forward to that. But if they leave her to the end, or they leave Zack and Aerith to the end, I wouldn't mind that either. Just what has the most impact, really. And I'm excited to see what Square Enix is cooking. Collectively, let's all just accept the truth, but also look forward to everything we have in store for us leading up to part 3, because this day will never come again. So let me have this moment. This is Tana Greek Nose signing off.